What is up, you guys? Marty McFly coming at you, bringing you guys the merch. In case you haven't realized, 2025 has been absolutely fantastic as far as heavy metal goes. We've had so many great releases already, and it's only into March. I mean, at this point, I think we're off to a great year. I really enjoyed what 2024 offered. Some of my favorite records came out that year, but I do feel like we were in that weird gap where the majority of the bands that are releasing records were not going to release it last year. Like I said, there's some phenomenal albums that came out last year, but I really feel like 2025 is just a banger year across the board. Can't wait to see what the rest of the year brings to us. And on that note, let's talk about already going to be in my top 10 favorite records of this year. And that, of course, is this Consequence from Killswitch Engage. Some of the kings of the new wave of American heavy metal, the kings of metalcore. Accept no substitutions, Killswitch Engage. This record is everything I wanted it to be from a Killswitch Engage album. Just from start to finish. Everything they've done with this album is really spans their entire discography, the entire history of this band. I really feel like they put into this record. It's a little shorter than I would have probably wanted. It is coming in at 10 songs. But it is 10 well-crafted, incredible songs. You could really tell the band put their heart and souls to come back up on top. And really, I mean, just another game-changing record. If you want to even know who Killswitch Engage is, you could start with this record and go backwards if you absolutely needed to. I think this is a great place to start. And I mean, everything about it, I really do love. Everything, even the cover art is incredible. But let's start from the beginning. Killswitch Engage, the kings of metalcore, the kings of new wave of American heavy metal. This Consequence just came out this year. I've been playing it non-stop since it was released. I pre-ordered it, came right home, couldn't wait to play it, and from the very first track, just blew me away, but we'll get there in a little bit. This is the cover art. Really beautiful gloss and then indented, so it's a very tactile cover. Like, you can actually like touch the indentations to where the artwork is done. This was actually made by, like, the artwork was actually done by Mike D from Killswitch Engage, and I guess there was like a little thing coming out saying that he may have done AI or something like that, but he very quickly disputed that. But I mean, just great band cover. And then the inside, of course, they actually did something pretty cool. And they did basically this foldable version of the cover with the in-sleeve, you know, the band. You got the whole band on there. You got all the lyric sheets done on the inside. They got their special thanks. I mean, I really love the way they crafted this. And, of course, you got a nice picture of the rest of the band. And I mean, everything they've done. So if you want to know who the band is, we got Jesse Leach's lead vocals, Adam D lead guitar, clean vocals. You got Mike D'Antonio on bass, Joe Strohtzl on guitar and vocals, and Justin Foley on drums. Every band member came together on this record and just crushed it. This is, of course, the beautiful cover. This is actually like a smoky gray, almost gives like a little bit of a brown appearance, but custom center labels, typical Killswitch logo. I mean, even the vinyl came out fantastic. But this record, I really feel like, does span everything that this band has done. And I'm just so happy for them. I mean, Jesse really, really pushes himself on all of his records that he does. And, you know, you can tell the album, when he writes something, it takes a toll on him. Because he'll have to go to, like, this dark place and let all the emotions come out. And then when it finally does, it's like this huge catharsis, and he goes to these dark emotional places, and I feel like this album is no different. This album is equally beautiful, melodic, and melancholic, as well as it is genuinely pissed off. It's thrash, it's hardcore, it's punk. Lyrically, it's very like pissed off and just upset about everything that's going on in his life and in the country and all that stuff. And I'm not referring to anything politically, just like I feel like life in general. You can tell life has really thrown him and the rest of us through a loop. And you get that feeling like he's pissed off, the world is pissed off. There's a lot of things going on with people in their own lives, and you can really get that vibe from this record. But this is probably my favorite Killswitch Engage record. I think this changes the order of how much I love their records, because they've never written a bad album. They've never had a Saint Anger album. And thank God, because I love this band. Now, granted, this is a long time. This is 5 years of waiting for this record to come out, and I'm glad it did. I was a little sad that it took this long, but we got this record out of it, and it was amazing. Not like what A Day to Remember did when they came out with You're Welcome. We had to wait forever. That it ended up being like a terrible record. By the way, A Day to Remember's new record, the more and more time I spend with it, I love it. I think it's a masterpiece for A Day to Remember. Great comeback album. If you haven't checked it and you like A Day to Remember, you'll like it. It's another album that I think spans all of their music. But this was worth the 5-year wait. It's a shorter album. It's 10 tracks. The album songs don't stick around that long. They just get you, grab you by the throat, make you fall in love with them, and then they're gone. And I wish we had a little bit. I always want more, right? I just wanted a taste for a little bit more. Now, Adam D does a big, interview on YouTube talking about the making of this record, and Jesse had to change his vocals and how he was singing and his singing artistically, and how he sang for this album twice. And then, obviously COVID and touring all of a sudden delayed this album by a lot. And then Jesse went through some hard stuff too. But, oh my God, it was worth it. I mean, this is probably my favorite Killswitch Engage record. And, I love all of them, but this one blows the last two out of the water. Maybe even the last three. I really like what they've done over the span, but, I mean, I put this next to Daylight Dies. I put this next to Alive or Just Breathing. I put this next to the original self-titled record. I put this next to The End of Heartache. Like, this belongs in the pantheon of Killswitch Engage albums. So, starting with track number 1. Oh my God. Just incredible. The first song opens with just like this super punk thrash riff, and then just goes into this soaring, melancholic, beautiful melody that really, I didn't even know. I was like, oh my God, someone wrote a melody like this. Like, it was not a melody I've ever heard before in the pantheon that is heavy metal, metalcore, new wave American heavy metal. I've never heard a melody sung in that way before, and unbelievable, just absolutely beautiful. So, Abandon Us, the first track, reading from the handy dandy metal Bible here. But, it was a great throwback song, I think, to Alive or Just Breathing, Daylight Dies. The guitars reminds me so much of Daylight Dies. It's probably my favorite melody on the album, next to two more songs that we'll talk about. But I think it was one of the best openers for a Killswitch Engage record. Great melody, everything that you love about Killswitch Engage. The lead guitar sounds like it was just written off of Alive or Just Breathing. And As Daylight Dies, it's like a perfect blend between the two. You really do hear a little bit of everything. You get anger, you get beauty. It immediately made me excited for the rest of this record when I heard it. There's great guitar leads, like I said. There's a megaphone voiceover in the midsection where you can start to get a little bit of breakdown. Jesse, peak vocals. I mean, the best vocals he's ever had in his entire life, I think, is in this song. Between highs and lows, cleans, he really pushes himself to scream like old Howard Jones did. I mean, just unreal. You'd swear these guys were 22 years old when they wrote this, just because of how good they sound. And then it ends on a great fade out. But I think the highest point of this song is just how well written the melodic chorus is in this track. Number 2. Oh my God, it sounds like it was written just right off of Alive or Just Breathing, and like maybe a mixture of like The End of Heartache. It was a great throwback to the original Killswitch Engage, I think, self-titled LP, the very, very first one, not the second one. And then Foley's drumming is unfreaking real. Blackened blast beats, just, everybody pushed themselves on this record. Even the bass lines, oh my God, everybody pushed themselves on this record. All 5 members did, but the drumming is insane on this album. I would say the drumming is the best that I've ever heard from this band. I mean, the drumming itself just really drew me into the next song. Aftermath, number 3. Next to I Believe and Abandon Us, Aftermath is probably my favorite song, and mostly, I mean, everything about the melodic chorus itself I loved, but the final moments of this track is like a Times of Grace moment. Adam D comes out with these soaring, beautiful vocals singing melodically at the very end, and it made the hair stand on my arms, the back of my neck. It was straight off of a Times of Grace record. But everything about this song was incredible. It was another great melody, a really great entrance, another great moment for drumming. Jesse really pushes himself with how high he screams, the upper screams itself. He really pushes himself. I think the most he's ever pushed himself. Amazing midsection, really classic Killswitch Engage, and then of course the Times of Grace finish with Adam's cleans just gave me goosebumps. I teared up the first time I heard it. It was just freaking beautiful, because I know it's gonna be a while before we get another Times of Grace record, and this really hit it for me. So, going on to the next track, great Alive or Just Breathing throwback, dissonant chords, great guitar leads. Jesse really does take charge on the next two songs. Forever Aligned, I think, is just a straight classic Alive or Just Breathing throwback, but Jesse really takes charge in this track. A lot of the riffs, it's just like a Alive or Just Breathing, maybe End of Heartache, and then even in the finish, kind of pairs up with like an End of Heartache finish. Jesse and Adam together, they really sneak in there together towards the end, and then the high screams from Jesse again takes place. I Believe is also one of my favorites off of this, definitely top 3. Great clean guitar riffs that you can just jump to, and I think that's why this is gonna be a crowd favorite. I haven't seen them live yet this year, but I'm gonna see them twice actually. But this song is gonna be another crowd favorite where it's just like get up and jump. It's gonna be a great sing-along song for everybody. The melody in this song is why I love Killswitch Engage, and it really is another throwback to End of Heartache, As Daylight Dies, Alive or Just Breathing. Adam's backing really seals the deal, and then kind of gives me a little bit of Times of Grace as well, to be honest with you. Listening to this track really pairs me up with like the Times of Grace feelings that I love about this band, especially the duet between Adam and Jesse. And great midsection, very Times of Grace, very As Daylight Dies midsection, and I Believe. And then a great bass progression, especially the last 30 seconds to a minute of the album. There's just this great bass line that we've heard in metal bands before. And the bass line is very reminiscent of like what Underoath did, Anne Berlin did off their first record. That bass line that we've heard in a lot of other bands. Well, they do it here, and they do a great job with it. The next song, Where It Dies, classic self-titled riff. I mean, riffs for days, the whole track, but very classic self-titled era when S.C. Leach first started on the band. Oh my gosh, really, yeah, I don't even know how you want to say it, but like the compounded screams and growls that happen at the same time, really did a great job with that. But like I said, yeah, Where It Dies is just classic Alive or Just Breathing. It's just angry, it's pissed off, you have the compounded screams. Very Slayer, very thrash. I'd say like blackened thrash. Very Slayer. Really did a great job with that. The next one, Collusion. Like, holy batshit, Batman. Riffs for freaking days, and the breakdown from hell. Was not expecting this going into this track. And then, I would say, that's a highlight of this song. But yeah, riffs for days. Really a chug fest, and this great build-up. And then just this big, nasty, dirgy breakdown that I was not expecting in this track. Just comes out of the middle of freaking nowhere, and they just crushed it, man. They did a great job with it. I would say a lot of this track, especially going into the breakdown, is very Chimera. Like, very Chimera. Like, from the get-go, I could hear it. I was like, oh my god. Honestly, I half expected, like, Matt DeVries and, like, Mark Hunter and Rob Arnold and everybody to come out in the middle of this track when the breakdown hits. So they did a great job right there. The Fall of Us, I almost thought was the final track, because it almost sounds like it's going to be a final track. Very blackened thrash. That's the best way to explain it. The drumming, insane. Blast beats for days. Like I said, very blackened sounding, like blackened death metal. Just but with like thrash and like punk. Lyrically, very punk, very hardcore. Really did. I mean, they're really pissed off. Really pissed off song. And I mean, damn. I mean, Foley's got an amazing drum feature for the song. I think this song was made for him. A lot of discords, like a lot of dissonant chords in this track. And then, they change the tempos frequently. Very classic new wave of American heavy metal midsection. Kind of like slows down. You got the pinch harmonics. So, I mean, that, you really do get everything on this record. And every song, I feel like, touches every era of Killswitch Engage. Now, Broken Glass, blast beats, it's darker. It's like tune low, die slow, acacia strain. You got this kind of Egyptian, Middle Eastern chords that you kind of hear in like that style of music. Very bluesy, very minor chord everything. I mean, wow, really did a great job. But then the cleans I would say are not really the best way to put it. The cleans in this are not meant to evoke beauty and the haunting dark melodies that really hit your soul and you want to listen to them for days. No, these cleans are still very minor chord, pissed off. They do it tastefully, but just angry. And I feel like that's how they intended this to be. And Jesse even goes to say that the majority of this record is pissed off. And he said not everybody's going to love it. But I can see why he's saying that now, because you really do get that in these latter tracks. Requiem, great riffs, great hooks. Classic down-tuned chugs. Tremolo riffs. Jesse really does he pushes himself with the highs and lows, pushes them to the max he can do. He takes charge on the cleans, but then you can tell Jesse starts to back off. And then it becomes more of an Adam feature. And I think that was a really cool thing they did with this record, is how much Adam plays a part into the singing in this record. I feel like this is like an Adam feature. He really takes charge on the cleans, and then kind of like the pre-chorus, like little intersections, Adam really does take charge on that. Classic Adam D down-tuned chugs that we really heard on As Daylight Dies quite a bit. This song itself is very bluesy, but very doom and gloom. They're not trying to make you feel good about anything. It's pissed off. It really does feel like doom and gloom the more you get into it. And then as towards they finish the song, you have this great duet going back and forth between Adam and Jesse. The really memorable lead guitar solo, which I feel like was not that prevalent on this record, but here, lead guitar and lead guitar written melodies is the precedent of this record, and I love that because you don't need to always constantly do a solo. But in order, you have the pre-written guitar leads that are very melodic and they create their own song inside the song. But finally we get this beautiful, bombastic, melodic solo from Adam D. You have the duet between Jesse and Adam as the song starts to go towards the finish. And then when the song finally finishes on the dissonant chords, breakdown, just dirgy, nasty, and then this finally soaring finish reminded me so much of Times of Grace, especially with this latter record, when you thinking of mostly like Medusa or the final track of the last Times of Grace album. That's what this reminds me of. And that's how they finished the record. 10 songs. None of the songs specifically stay around too long, but the final song was almost proggy. Not like musical masturbation proggy, like, what Dream Theater or like Opeth like to do. No, meaning they changed the riff, they changed the tempo constantly. They threw in as many ideas as they could together to finish this track. Almost like a breakdown within inside of a breakdown. And then the album finishes. And you're just left with this you just got your ass kicked. But you experience so many emotions in the whole record, from somber to melancholy to happy to tearful to goosebumps to rage, pissed off, angry at the world, angry at the government, angry at your, whatever, angry at life because, life threw you through a loop. And they did such a phenomenal job with that. And I would say the heavier tracks lie in the latter half of the record. And then the more melancholic, beautiful Daylight Dies, Alive or Just Breathing, End of Heartache era type of melodies are on the front half. And they just leave you with this like 98 different feelings going off at once. And I think this record is probably the best record they've done in a very long time. I've loved everything they've done. I really have. I mean, the last 3 records I've been really happy with, but this is the one, man. This is like Obsidian by Paradise Lost, where they did everything that they've ever done, put them all together, and they did a phenomenal job. I'm going to be listening to this until the needle in my record player dies. And with that, guys, that is the new Killswitch Engage record, This Consequence. If you haven't played it, play it now. You will not regret it. You're going to end up loving it like the same way I did. I hope you guys are doing well, taking care of each other, and peace.